And we are now live, man. Welcome to What's Good with Gil and Larry, our weekly podcast concerning what's going on in the sports world. Today is December 27, 2023. I don't like to waste no time getting to the topics at hand. So, first and foremost, man, we had a fight this weekend. Wilder, there was two fights there. Wilder and then Anthony Joshua. They didn't fight each other, y'all. And I saw highlights of the fight because I really didn't care about watching the fight because I didn't think they would both fight anybody worth even watching, to be honest. And so shockingly, Wilder lost. Shockingly to a lot of other people, not to me. To other people, it's a major upset, especially if he was a betting the odds with Vegas. I think he was like a negative 950, which in Vegas terms is like a sore shot, you know? And Anthony Joshua handled business. He knocked out his opponent. It wasn't even a fight, you know. Back to Wilder first. I want to just elaborate on that guy real quick. And I'm not a hater. I'm definitely a boxing fan. I'm an advocate of boxing, especially in the United States, because unfortunately the promoters are not really doing a great job with these fights and lining up these major league fights. The fighters don't want to fight each other. They settle for bum opponents so they can get a big money purse. You know, as far as longevity, hey, I have no problem with it. As far as entertainment, it sucks. Okay. And they wonder why they're losing contracts with Showtime and things of that nature. But back to Wilder, let me talk about this guy real quick. Okay. Now you're starting to see what a lack of being a real boxer does. Okay. He got away with being a one-trick pony, and that was a strong right. If he caught you with that right, he's going to knock you out. Okay. He throw haymakers. He goes in there and gets on this wild tirade. When he catches you, it's just a wild, just display, just wild, just I'm throwing blows. Okay, haymakers. Okay. Fuhrer exposed him. He exposed him. Okay. He exposed him for what he lacks in, which is one, foot speed. His foot speed is terrible. His footwork is terrible, man. He is stiff. Two, he has legs of a basketball player, not a boxer. So his foundation is weak already. Okay, he has no balance. And if you know anything about boxing, you must have balance. Okay, he has no defense whatsoever. It's just a gangy style of fighting. Okay, he leaves himself open for a lot of shots. He don't set you up for anything. He's just looking for this one punch to deliver. Okay, when you fight a great fighter, you know why I admire Muhammad Ali so much, man? Because as a heavyweight, he had feet of like a welterweight, bro, or a lightweight. He had nimble feet. We don't, we marvel at all the things he did out of boxing, but I must talk about his boxing skills. One, he was such a meticulous trainer. He was such he was attention to detail. You know, he had this unwavering work ethic that we never talk about. Okay. His feet were his magic, man. He knew it too. He'll do a shuffle, man, and know his quick feet. So he's always lying on his feet and he was fast with his hands, right? And he could box. He was smart. He knew how to use his body. He was very intelligent in that ring, right? Everything that Wilder lacks, you know? So I'm not a proponent of Wilder, never have been. I thought that the Joshua and Wilder fight should have been happened at the times when it should have happened when they were both hot, okay? Anthony Joshua, and we've been exposed. This guy, he had a weak chin. He has a weak chin, you know, and that's been known. For a heavyweight, he has a weak chin. He's a big guy. He's solid. I mean, physically, he looked like what a heavyweight should look like. But far as his chin, he has a weak chin, and he's been exposed many times over. You know, he's been working with Derrick James, and if you don't know who Derrick James is the trainer of Charlo, and he's a trainer of Errol Spence, who just got demolished by Bud Crawford, which again, he got exposed, you know, just clashing styles. And Charlo, he came up to fight pretty much one of the best fighters in boxing, you know, my Mexican man, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, the redhead guy.
Canelo.
Best in the business, you know? So that's my opinion on Wilder. Anthony Joshua handled business. He fought a bum. He didn't fight nobody else even worth mentioning. And he did what he's supposed to do. He got rid of him, you know? Am I impressed? No, because when you fight a real boxer, he's going to get knocked out again because he doesn't have a chin. That's my perception of the fighters. So they're both on the decline. You know what I mean? We need some new, fresh meat up in this heavyweight division, man. We really do. Tired looking at these retired boxers fight and these bum boxers fight. The best we had was Tyson Fury, and unfortunately, he retired. You know, so that's my opinion of the heavyweight division and in boxing in general. What you got to add to it, my brother?
Well, when Tyson Fury is retired, do you think that retirement's going to stay? Because there are some athletes that if the attention's not on them, they don't know what to do with themselves. I don't see him being a stay-home father or stay-home husband or anything like that. Now, when your nickname is the Gypsy King, yeah. So I got a feeling we'll be seeing him again. I think he just got bored. You know, he beat he really unofficially beat Wilder 3 times.
Really
they gave it a draw because he got dropped.
Yeah.
In the first fight, but he was winning the whole fight. I don't understand that scorecard at all. Got him the second time, got him the third time. Wilder just kind of makes excuses. And although I didn't see either fight with Joshua or Wilder this weekend, I have seen them both fight numerous times. Joshua has very good skill, but he reminds me of Klitschko, where they don't, you know, if they get hit with the 2-piece, they're gonna fall and they're gonna have wobbly legs, and you're right, they don't have the strongest of chins. Where Wilder, he is kind of a one-trick pony. He depends so much on his power. He's not a guy that's built to go to distance. He's a guy that's built to get you with that one game changer. The one will drop you, the other one will take you out. And he was almost able to beat Tyson Fury with that, but it didn't happen. He depended on it too much. And you said something. I think physically, this is just me. I'm no expert. But, I pay attention to certain things. I pay attention to guys that I feel like their muscles are too big for their body. That's kind of a way you can tell who's doing steroids. And I'm not saying that Wilder's doing steroids, but what I will say is I think his top half is too big for his bottom half. I think he's thin legs. Now, he even said after the second fight against Tyson Fury, he said he had no legs because of all the gear he was wearing, just getting into the ring and stuff like that. If he had tired legs before round 1, he either needs bigger legs or he needs to drop a couple of lbs. I think he just looks like he's too big from the waist up, compared to his legs. And some people, doesn't matter how much you do leg day during the week, your legs are just going to be thin. That's why John Bones Jones didn't make the NFL. He said his legs were too skinny. He wasn't built for the NFL. His 2 other brothers were, and that's why they had success. I think John Jones did just fine in the career he chose, though. I'm just saying. So, you know, I don't know. Again, that's how I feel. Either I would tell Wilder to slim down a little bit, or I don't know, maybe just change your boxing style, because you know, depending on the knockout in every fight, you know, I realize that they're fighting bums. They're finding mandatory guys, but how much homework do you think Wilder is doing on these dudes? He's probably saying, you know, they got basic skills. They're here because they have to be here. I'm fighting them because I have to fight them. All I got to do is catch them with a 1-2 combo just once between round 1 and round 10, and I got them. It's not like they're going to knock me out or anything like that, because they're not going to be busy. They're going to be too afraid of the power. You know, the power thing is funny, because I compare a boxer that has that game-changing power to a quarterback with a big arm. A quarterback with a big arm thinks he can make every throw under every condition, and those are the guys that throw the most interceptions, because they think they can fit it into every single window. Every time. They don't throw it away. They don't conserve. They're always, you know, trying to make a play, going across their body or throwing off the back foot and things like that, because they believe in the arm so much. And I think that's what a boxer who has big power, I think he relies on it too much. He says, you know, as long as I'm not knocked out, as long as I'm still on my feet, I've got the advantage because I just got to catch him once. And sometimes that works, but then sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. Sometimes you need more than a 10-8 round, a 10-7 round.
Indeed.
So, you know, I'm disappointed because I want to see Wilder and Joshua fight. I want to see that. But, you know, if one guy wins and the other guy loses and then vice versa,
it's not a mark of the fight at this point.
It'll come to a point where people just aren't interested because they're not the top guys anymore.
Yeah. Like nobody wants to see it now. I think it missed the mark. Because now you done took, especially Wilder, he done took too many losses. And Joshua too, he had took too many losses. So that fight on a promotional standpoint, it doesn't have the same pizzazz it did when Joshua had the belts and Wilder had the one belt. You know, then it was like, man, you just, you know, that would have been the major payday. That would have been excitement. They just missed the mark. And I don't know. I think maybe management had a huge part to play in it because they was like, nah, you know, we want to keep this thing going. You know, if you lose, then you're gonna lose. Which I definitely don't agree with that concept. I feel like if you fight a legendary fight, just like when Wilder fought Fury became legendary, because became a trifecta. Imagine if the belts were on the line. You talking about Joshua fighting on Wilder? That would have been a rematch, possibly a trifecta, and then they got more money per fight. So they blew that whole opportunity, and whoever the promoter was definitely missed the ball on that one.
Yeah, I think they just assumed too much. They just assumed that Wilder was going to beat Tyson Fury that first time, and there wasn't going to be a need for a rematch. And they just assumed that Joshua was going to beat who was the Mexican guy that he beat?
Ortiz. No, Ortiz. It was what was the guy name they lost to? I know exactly what you're talking about.
The Mexican American guy.
Yeah, Mexican American guy.
Who knocked him out in the first fight, but then lost in decision the second fight.
Yeah, Saudi.
That, you know, that was, they thought those guys were going to beat them. And then, you know, instead of Joshua Wilder splitting at a $80 million purse, then they thought they were going to split at a $100 million purse, but didn't happen. You know, Wilder got the draw and then 2 consecutive losses after that. And, you know, Joshua, once a guy that's on top gets knocked out, it's one thing to lose on points, but when you get knocked out, you just don't see them as the same.
Nah, you don't. You don't. It's like when Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Him getting knocked out, the invincibility cloak was off of him. That was his magic, because up to that point, we never thought that he was Iron Mike Tyson. We didn't think nobody could penetrate him. And then when he got knocked, not only did you lose, you got knocked out.
Yeah,
but really a fighter that should never been in your league. So once that happened, it was hard to get back. You know, it's like a life lesson thing. It's like once you sort of bad habit, or once you open up the Pandora's box, it's hard to close it, man. So now everybody starts to see your flaws and you get exposed. When before they looked at you like the bully is the bully. You know, oh my God, I don't want to fight the bully. Then who what? The wimp beats the bully, and now he can never bully anybody again because he lost to the wimp.
Yep.
Basically.
So let me ask you, what's next for Joshua? What's next for Wilder?
Man,
I mean, Joshua's coming off a win, but
I mean, Joshua, I don't think there's nobody in the division that's even worth fighting at this point. Like, the only person I could think of maybe it being a slightly interesting fight if Tyson Fury comes out of retirement and decides he won't fight Joshua, which I don't think Joshua's going to win that fight, honestly. And Wilder, I don't know who's going to fight Wilder, because it's not right now at this point who wants to see Wilder fight. I don't care what you say. I trained this way. He said he had changed his style when he fought Tyson Fury for the second time, right? It's the same fight. Then he said the third time, I've been working with a new trainer. And just like Tyson Fury said, he said, I'm in his head right now. I mentally got this boy. I live in his house, in his mind. You feel me? And the dude that's training him, he's a bum. He never accomplished anything. So how you going to train him to do anything different? He is what he is. I know what he is. We know what he is. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And that's what he did. And he showed him. He exposed him. He said, once it's not going the way he wanted to go, he's going to resort back to what he know. That's what happened. You know? So once again, I don't think you can really retrain him to develop a new style of fighting. This is all he know. Care how good your camps were. It's all out the door when you put it to practice. You know, it's like being like, in practice, you go for 30 for 30 in practice, right? You get in the game, can't make a bucket. I mean, you're a superstar in practice. If we get the tape on you in practice, you might get an offer. You hear me? But as far as when you hit the game, it don't equate to the game. It's a different speed, bro. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. But moving forward, right? So we talking about winners and losers, right? I got to shift to the NBA, man. Man, I was really a supporter of Monty Williams. I thought he got a bum deal in New Orleans. I thought he built up a playoff caliber team. And unfortunately, the year that he got fired, they had all types of injuries to that team. Anthony Davis, as we know, was injured that year. Cousins was injured that year. So to his credit, I don't know how he was going to put a winning team out there when your stars were injured. You're putting B League competition out there, and it was what it was. It was a losing season, Boom. Then he goes to Phoenix, right? And for whatever it may be, they just couldn't get over the hump. And maybe when they lost to Dallas and the way they lost to Dallas in that last game, it got embarrassed in that game 7 when they got beat by more than 50 in the game 7. Maybe that sealed it. So I was like, all right, I don't know, man. I think he could coach. I still think he could coach. Now in Detroit, you got a young roster, probably one of the youngest rosters in the league, right? So you're going to take your bumps playing with young boys. You just are. Because they're not committed to the defensive side, and that's what you pretty much need. You're going to need some stops. You're going to need some people to offensively, they got talent. Like, they could pick buckets up. The problem is they are not stopping nobody. And then they've been losing so much now it's the culture. They just look at how we're not going to lose a game now instead of just going out there and saying we can win. Now it's just like, we'll give you 3 quarters, maybe give you 2 quarters, but we know eventually the gas is going to run out, and then we're going to find a way to lose. Okay? I don't know no coach is getting a string or a rope this long. You know what I mean? You're at 27, maybe going 28 games that you lost consecutively, right? Something ain't clicking, man. You're not getting across. It's your style of coaching. You're not getting across to these young boys. You got these young men out there, and you're losing the locker room. I don't care what you tell me, man. Even as a professional, if I'm getting up to come every day and you want me to put on the line and I walk away with losses, I cannot buy into your philosophy. You know what I mean? So at this point, my question to you, do you just cut it loose, bring in some new energy, or do you ride the storm out, hopefully get some picks in the draft, and hopefully try to put a winning philosophy to this team? Do you cut ties with the coach, or do you bring somebody in that you think that maybe get across to these young players? What do you do at this point in the season? Do you keep going on a sunken ship, or do you believe in the coach and just keep on going? What do you do? I ask you that. What would you do if you're a GM? What do you do?
Well, I tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not firing the coach because I believe he's got a 4-year contract and it makes him the highest. He's either the highest paid coach or he's the second highest paid coach. Okay. So I'm not going to be on the hook for that kind of money, because if he gets fired off his 3rd job, I don't know that anyone's going to run to rehire him. So that means he's going to have to sit back and collect for 3 more years at top dollar. Thank you, but no, I'm not doing that. I'm not really sure in season what to do. I agree with you in the fact that I thought he got a raw deal out of New Orleans. And considering the tragedy that happened while he was the coach there with his wife getting killed in the car accident, and then him going to Phoenix, I would have given him 1 more year in Phoenix, because it seemed like Aiden was really under his skin, and he was he wasn't publicly doing it, but it was a pretty open secret that he and Aiden were not on the same page, and Aiden was not doing or following the system or not doing what was expected of him under Monty Williams' coaching, because you could see the intensity that Monty Williams was coaching him at personally, one-on-one, when he would come back to the bench. So I think there was a little bit of a rift there. Not saying it was anything personal, but the fact that they moved on from Aiden, I would have liked to have seen Monty Williams 1 year without him, have a full season with Kevin Durant and Booker and what's his name that they got from Washington? Bradley Beal. I would have liked to have seen how that would have played out. I almost feel like ownership kind of held it against him, the fact that a few years ago in the finals he was up 2-0 and lost that series in 6.
Yeah.
And they were never really the same after that. The very next year, like you said, Dallas beat them, which was really on paper an inferior team, and they whooped them in that last game, winning by 50 or whatever. Luka just went crazy good.
He did.
And then last year, listen, Denver was the better team. And you could even say Phoenix did the best in a series against them versus, anybody else. But it was still never really competitive. So, like I said, I would have given Monty 1 more year. But the end result might have still been the end result. The fact is we have given Monty, because we like him, and we feel for him, we have given him a longer leash than we probably would with anybody else. But the deal was him signing that big contract with Detroit. This was the year they were supposed to turn the corner.
Yeah.
They weren't supposed to continue to go down before they went up. Last year was the floor, was the bottom. This was the year they were supposed to start to step up. And they've continued to go down. And you're right, 27 games in a row, that wears on you mentally. And it's going to get worse because now they got to play Boston on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Boston 2 times in a row. So they're probably going to lose 2 more games with that. And now you don't want to be the team that makes Detroit break that streak. So you're going to kind of come out with your A game no matter who you are, because you don't want to be that team that Detroit finally beats. Okay?
Right.
So I don't see it getting easier for Detroit. And you can't depend on a draft pick because they had the worst record last year and they wind up getting the 5th pick. It was worst case scenario. Worst record. And what's the worst that the worst record could get in the lottery? Is pick number 5. Well, that's what they got. They got pick 5. And as you can see, it's not helping them. No disrespect to what's the young guy? Cunningham? Is that him? No disrespect to him, but he's not Victor. He's not Wembayama. Now, it's not like San Antonio's winning a whole lot, but at least he's an attraction. At least you're going there to see somebody. Eventually, you know, between the coaching and bringing in more talent and the development of this young kid who we all believe is going to be a superstar, they're going to turn the corner sooner rather than later. But at this point, they're just something to see because he gives them something to see. People around the nation aren't going to want to see Detroit because of Cunningham. Maybe Detroit fans do, but I don't. I have no interest in going to a game or watching a game with Detroit. They don't have any star power. There's nothing on there unless, I'll tune in on the 4th quarter to see if they got a shot at winning or not. That's about it. I'm sure the NBA doesn't like this. The NBA doesn't like those good traditional franchises. They don't like the Knicks losing. They don't like the Celtics losing. They don't like the Lakers losing. They don't like Detroit losing. I mean, this is the Detroit Pistons. Okay, this is an honored franchise.
Indeed.
Would you want to see the Detroit Red Wings at the bottom year after year after year? No way. They're one of the original 6 in hockey. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't know what Detroit can do right now other than win a game. If you win a game, it's the streak is over. Find a way to win a game. Win 1 game. That's not asking for too much.
Yeah.
Win one game. It's probably not going to be within the next two because Boston might be the best team in the league. Never mind the Eastern Conference. It
Yeah,
might
in
be
the league.
one league.
Yeah.
So we'll give you that, and you're probably going to get Boston's best punch. But after that, you got to find a way. You got to find a way to get off the schneid because I think the 76ers have the record at 28.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
if
a
you're playing
fact.
Boston the next two games, you lose
Yep.
both of them. That's 29. You got the record. Congratulations. Now
Congratulations.
you got to win. Now you got to win because they're not lowering the prices of tickets when you're losing. They're not doing that.
Man.
Your local cable, they're not lowering the price because you're losing. Okay? So this is all about money. This is all about viewership, ratings. Obviously, you're not going to make the playoffs this year, but you can't depend on a draft pick for next year. Not how the NBA does it. It's not the NFL.
Now,
No.
now,
So I really don't know what to say about Detroit other than they got to find a way to win one game so we can stop talking about the streak because now it's going to get heavier. Every day, every loss, it gets heavier and heavier, and they don't need that.
I'm gonna mention something, right? You know, we had our preview, our NBA preview, right? And it was two teams that I told you were going to have better years, and they were going to be two teams that had high confidence, going to make the playoffs and have way better years. And that was Orlando Magic, and they're making me my statement true, right? And are Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma. I remember
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Remember I said that? I
Yeah.
said my sleepers were. I said that on the on the Eastern Conference side, it was going to be who I said Indiana, and I also said Magic, right? Orlando Magic. Both of them have been proven right. You know, obviously Magic having a better year than Indiana, but they're both winning. You know, they're still maintaining that winning. They have some young power, and you know, like once again, I always say it's the defensive side of when you're going to make that turn. It's the defensive side. It's not the offensive side. It's the defensive side. It's can you get stops, you know, and then if you already got offenses, can you stop the other team from scoring? Plain and simple, you know, and that's the difference. If you look at Oklahoma City, they're up there when it comes to defensive efficiency. They got scores, man. And Shai Alexander, man, SAG, man, he's a whole different animal right now. He's a different animal. He knows that's his team. He knows he's the prolific point guard. You don't know what I'm talking about? You better pay attention, brother. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he's excited. Young bull. He's dropping like easy 30. No problem. Effortlessly. He's tall. Can you believe the LA Clippers had him when he was rookie? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So I love.
Well, that's another problem entirely on how they give up on players.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's like if you don't go to the G League to develop, it's like if your rookie year, it's boom or bust.
Yeah, I don't get
ridiculous.
that. Like, I don't know what you expect for these rookies to come in and actually do. Save your franchise? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on.
Especially when most of them are 19 or 20 years old. These aren't guys that coming out of college that are 23.
Indeed. It's about 18, 19. 1 year experience in college. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a lot of development you have to do, you know, and you're going to the pros off your talent, you know. So I believe especially if I'm drafting you high, you know, even if you made the top 10 for me, man, I'm not just chalking that up as, oh, you're not developing. I'm just not doing all that. You know, I'm going to work with you. We're going to get through your learning curves. I'm going to pitch you around some veterans. Hopefully I can pitch you around some veterans that can teach you how the NBA kind of works. You know, I think that's very critical. And I think any Hall of Fame basketball player or athlete has always said they had veterans around them that teach them the ropes. You know, the ones that didn't really pan out, think about it. They went to teams where they didn't have veteran presence. They had a bunch of young guys. You know, it's bad when your young guys in your veterans in your age bracket. He can't tell you how the NBA runs. He can't tell you how to put that work ethic in. He can't tell you certain things. You know how to condition yourself on the back-to-back and things of that nature. Is when you hit certain towns, not to go out and party and live up and do the thing. You know, that's what you had them veterans for, man. You know, so I just wanted to mention that, man, because, you know, I guess we need to get into the meat and potatoes of our program, to be honest. You know, it's that time of season, and it's really gearing to the playoffs. It's becoming serious in the NFL. As you know, Detroit clinched their division. Congratulations to the Detroit Lions, man. It's been a long time since they clinched the division. You know, you can see it. You can see it working. You can see, you know, the progress, and it goes to show you, man. When Jared Goff, you know, when he got traded to Detroit, I thought that, man, they just gave up on me. I'm in the cellar now. You know, my career's over. They sent me to a franchise, a losing franchise. Like, you ain't gonna tell me that you went in there and said, "This man, we could possibly win a division." But then again, he might have looked at it like, you know what? I don't have the pressure. I'm not in a big market. I don't have the pressure of being a Ram in LA. You know, I actually go there where they believe in me. They believe that I could do it. When they trade for Matt Stafford, obviously I would have pulled the same trade. You get Matt Stafford, who's not going to trade that? So for the short term, it worked out well. They got Super Bowl, right? For the long term, you see the investment. You build around them. I'm building a team around you. You're our quarterback. You know, then what happened? They got a fiery coach. Gotta get the coaches due. I got Campbell's due. I gotta get Dan Campbell his props, man, because he brought it. He brought an energy. He brought an energy to that franchise that was highly needed. He got the right players. Key. His draft picks were outstanding. You got O-line the first year. You know, he built around the offense. You know, his coordinators. You know, Ben Johnson, as we know, he's going to be a head coach. I'm just looking at all the moves that it took for this to happen. Now we're believers. We don't believe that Detroit. Can you believe this? We feel like the old Barry Sanders Detroit Lions. When I don't think we felt that confident about them. How we feel this team. They're excited, man. They're excited. And I love it. I love to see losing franchise rebuild and build the right way, my man. He's building a culture built around his personality, which is tough, fierce, not giving up, and he's giving his all to this franchise, and they're giving it back to him. I love it when the players play for their coach, man, and they believe in the system. I love it. I love it. What do you think, my bro? I love it.
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I like seeing, you know, when a team in general, when a team who's consistently been, let's say, a laughing stock,
yes,
you know, has been near the bottom, always picking top 5, top 10 in the draft, and now finally, after a decade or 2 or 3, finally has turned a corner, and it looks like, you know, they're not going to be a one-year wonder. I could see Detroit, for example, being, you know, competing for their division for the next few years.
Yeah.
They have a good offensive line. That's where it starts.
Indeed.
Center and both tackles are very good. Okay. Goff, he's one of those guys. He's an old school pocket passer. You don't bring pressure on him where he has to move his feet or get off his spot. He's as good as a pocket passer as you have in the league. Period. That's that. They got a number 1 wide receiver. Now they got a really good tight end.
And a running back.
They got 2 running backs, the rookie and the free agent when they got Montgomery.
Yep.
So they got the offense. They got the offensive coordinator who is so good. He is probably going to be a hot commodity for a head coaching job this offseason. Hey, you worry about that down the road. You don't worry about that right now. Right now, you're just thankful you got him. And the defense, you know, it picks its spots. It's hot and cold sometimes. They're a few players away from being consistent, but they're on their way. Mm-hmm. They're not bad. They're just, you know, not consistent. Good. You know, they probably need another guy on the D line. They probably need another guy or 2 in the secondary. They drafted a linebacker in the first round last year. So they're probably not far from being more than a division winner, because that's how we see them right now. They're the division winner. Maybe they win a game. Nobody's really picking them to go to the Super Bowl, nevertheless win it. That might be something next year. You know, there's levels to this thing. But yeah, got to give them credit. Listen, I liked it when finally Cincinnati got Joe Burrow and they started winning. Even the little bit of success they had with Palmer. Over a decade ago. I like that. I like what's going on with Buffalo. You know, people forget in the 90s, Buffalo was the Patriots in
They
the 2000s.
were. They were.
For,
4.
for a decade, they were consistently the best
The best.
AFC
They
team.
were.
They won that division, the AFC East, pretty much every year. Every year.
I'm gonna tell you how great they were, right? Just reiterate. I'm sorry to cut you off, right? But think about it. Just think about it. Let's think about it real quick, right? Yes, they lost 4 Super Bowls, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went back to the Super Bowl 4 times. Gil, I don't think you just heard what I said.
Oh no! I heard you.
Did you hear what I said?
I lived it because the Buffalo Bills were in the Super Bowl every year I was in high school.
4 years.
Every year.
4.
91, 92,
4.
93, 94. Every year I was in high school. And they lost all 4.
They did. They lost.
Even though they were only favored in one, the first one.
Yeah, the first one. After that, it wasn't
After
favored.
that, they were the underdog every time.
But it shows you just the greatness of that team.
Oh, yeah.
You went to 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And yes, it was disappointing losses that y'all didn't play y'all best game when y'all needed to. But you know how hard it is to go to Super Bowl? Especially back to back.
4 straight. It's very hard to go to the Super Bowl 4 times.
You can't tell me a team that went 4 times in a row.
How many times do you hear the team that loses in the Super Bowl the next year has a bad year?
Yes, you hear it all
they
the
can't
time.
Get over it.
You can't get over it.
They can't get over it.
You play probably the best football you played the prior year, and you're trying to match that intensity, but then injuries. You got just things happen where it's very difficult to go back to a Super Bowl, man. Very difficult. We only can name a handful of franchises that actually went back to back in the Super Bowl. You talking about 4 times. So I wanted to mention that because it is definitely a testament to how great and dominant they were in the 90s, and especially the AFC. They down, and like you said, they hit a rocky slope there, man, where they were bottom feeders. It was terrible. Mm-hmm. Then they got that Josh Allen and slowly built up a winning franchise. Now we talk about them like we're talking about this year that could possibly be contending with Baltimore, in my opinion, to go to the Super Bowl. Because I think between them two will be, I really think that's who's going to challenge Baltimore to go to the Super Bowl. For real. And we'll get to that a little further on, right? But I want to ask you something, sticking with this division, the Detroit division, and being that your team is part of that division, right? What is your analysis, one, on your quarterback, and how do you feel about your quarterback and how y'all been playing of late? Do you think he has won the franchise and say, okay, we're going to give you the keys and facilitate and build around you? Or you think that y'all going to do a dumb move and go in the draft and go get these Mays or one of them other quarterbacks that they raving about and just give up on the Justin Field project? What do you personally think is going to happen with your franchise?
Oh, well, what do I think is going to happen, or what do I want?
Well, I know what you want.
Okay, what
you want. We already know clearly what you want.
I want to keep Justin Fields. I want to give him the 5th-year option. I want to make sure I gave him every opportunity to be successful. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But I don't want to be like, should I have given him one more year? I don't know. My opinion, and I've been consistent with this, I don't think, first of all, if they're going to move on from Justin, it's Caleb Williams or nobody else.
Right.
I'm not considering Drake May, nobody else. Caleb Williams or stick with Fields. And I believe 2 things. Okay. I believe Caleb Williams will not, as a rookie, have a better year next year than Justin Fields had this year. So then what's the point? Number one, I don't think that this, at least offensively, is the right coaching staff to take the offense to the next level. I don't think the coaching staff can make Caleb Williams a better quarterback than how they've worked with Justin Fields. They have minimally made him better, and I think Caleb Williams would be minimally better. I do not believe in the coaching staff, in particular in the offensive guys.
Okay.
That's number one. Okay, now I told you what I think. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate. Why would the Bears move on? Caleb Williams is a higher prospect coming out of college than Justin Fields was. That's one. Number two, how often is it that you're going to have back-to-back number one overall picks and not take a quarterback, even a guy that they say is a generational guy, which it seems like every 2 or 3 years, that's what they're saying anyway.
Right.
You know, are they going to go 2 years in a row with the losing record with the number one pick and not take a quarterback? You know, the old saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. And number 3, let's talk about money. If Justin Fields gets the 5th-year option, he costs a lot more money. After the 5th-year option, he's got to get one of those supermax contracts, which I'll tell you, I don't think he has earned, but it doesn't matter because, as we know now, if you're the next guy, you set the bar, whether you've earned it or not. None of us thought Dak earned his contract, but he was the next guy. That was the next level of the next guy, and that's why he made that money. None of us thought that Kyle Murray in Arizona earned to be paid that max contract, but he was the next guy. It was time for him to get paid, and he either had to stick with them or move away from them.
Yeah.
Look at what the Cleveland Browns did with Baker Mayfield. It was time because Baker was next up, and they made the choice to move away from him. Either pay him top dollar or move away. So I could see the Bears saying, you know, I just don't think if you believe in our coaches, we are not getting the best out of him. Let's try with new blood, and let's deal with the rookie contract for 3 years before we start to decide on whether we give him a 50. Because you got to decide going into year 4 if you're going to give him year 5.
Right.
Okay. This is Justin Fields' 3rd year. We're talking about his 5th-year contract. So, you know, he has to get it before he plays his 4th year. He has to know going into next year if he's under contract for his 5th year or not, one way or another, whether it's with the Bears or with another team. Now, this game in particular, a lot of people said, oh, imagine if the Atlanta Falcons, if they had Justin Fields, man, he would really fit that system. Well, guess who the Bears are playing this weekend? Exactly. They're playing Atlanta. So this is kind of an audition for 2 teams at the same time.
Whew.
For me, again, I'm reiterating, I would stick with Justin, give him every opportunity, and I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. with my first pick, whether he's number 1 or number 2. If we can move down a spot, if we can't, then I'm taking him. I'm taking the guy that's as close to a sure thing in this draft than anybody else. I'm taking him. Now, the Bears, as they keep winning, they're falling down further.
Yeah.
So they were picking top 5 3 weeks ago. Now they're barely inside top 10. They're 8th right now. And they could win the next 2 games.
Yeah.
They could beat Atlanta because it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they can beat Green Bay. They won't be favored to, but they can. They're not going to be like a big underdog. So if they win the next 2 games, they're going to fall out of the top 10. Indeed. If they go 1-1, maybe it's still top 10. So I am certainly not opposed to one of those top offensive linemen, whether it's the Penn State kid or the Notre Dame kid, Joe Alt, because the Bears can get a center either in free agency. They could get Connor from Miami because he'll be a free agent, or they can draft a dude from Georgia, which is the way I think they're going to go. But I think he's a 2nd-round guy, so the Bears are going to have to work out some kind of trade where they get a high 2nd-round pick, because that's probably where he's going to go. He's probably going to go top 10, top 12 in the 2nd round. So they're going to have to do something. They're either going to have to trade Justin, or they're going to have to trade down 1 spot with that first pick to get a high 2nd-round pick to get that center. So, like I said, I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. with that first pick, if this is me, and I'm either taking one of those offensive linemen to upgrade the left tackle. I'm getting a 2nd-round pick to upgrade my center. So now my offensive line is good, or I use my second pick if it's still in the top 10, and I take Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. And now I've got 2 killer wide receivers and 2 really good tight ends. I'll take my chances with that and still somehow get a center either in free agency or the draft and have a solid offensive line in front of Justin Fields with weapons. Now he's got 4 guys that you can't double up 4 guys. You can't. Someone's going to get open. Someone's going to get open. So that's how I would go. But I could see them saying Caleb Williams because of the money, because of the ceiling. That's not what I would do, but I understand if that's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's where I come from with that. The Bears got to turn the corner next year. Now I said going into this year, because expectations kind of got a little bit ridiculous, and people thought they were going to go 9-8. Maybe make a chance for that, one of those last wild cards, like team number 7. I thought, no way. If they're 7-10 or possibly 8-9, I will take that. With the arrow pointing up, I'll take that because that's a realistic jump. Considering last year they only won 3 games.
I mean, they've been doing
won 7 or 8. That's fantastic. Now, right now they're at 6 with 2 games to go. So realistic expectations, if you stick with realistic expectations, you didn't have realistic expectations saying, but if we achieve this, we got to get rid of the quarterback. No, the quarterback is part of this. He's part of this. He's part of the reason why the arrow is pointing up. That's me. And I think because Caleb Williams as a talent is rated higher than anybody was rated last year, I think the Bears will get more in a trade for that number 1 pick than they would have gotten last year. I don't know that they'll get as much going from 1 to 2 as they did last year, going from 1 to 9. But I think they're going to get a lot. I think they're going to get more than the average just moving down 1 spot. I think they're going to get a lot. I think they might get a second first-round pick out of it. They might get 2 first-round picks going from 1 to 2, which would be amazing. How do you say no to that? How do you say no to that? Set yourself up for this year and next year. Oh, next year, they already have 2 second rounds because of the trade they made last year. Then you're going to set yourself up for another 2 first rounders next year and 2 second rounders. Let me go run to the bathroom.
Now, before we get to our picks, right? I think the MVP picture has changed dramatically, in my opinion. Especially if the player I think maintains the course. He ain't won it hands down. He showed me what MVP caliber. First and foremost, man, I'm gonna just let it be known who I'm talking about. As we know, Action Jackson just put on a remarkable performance out there in San Fran. They dominated San Fran. They made Brock Purdy, who we discussed is MVP candidate, right? In our opinion, right? They made him look
pedestrian.
Pedestrian. That's the word. Yeah, that's the best word to use it. 4 interceptions, great defensive scheme, and then, man, it's just like the bigger the moment, the better that Lamar gets. They cried. They talked about how much. Oh man, he wants as much money. He's greedy. Whoa. They should get rid of him. And now you see why you don't get rid of a player like this. Piggybacking off of what Cam Newton said, you got game managers, you got special players. He's considered a special player. He makes the game look easy. What he does on that field is remarkable. For you to lose your running backs, your receivers, you have some decent receivers, but they're not like lights out receivers, but you make them look lights out. You got to count for the quarterback at all times because he definitely can take off on you. He's strong. You can't go and just bring him down like that, and he's exciting. He's fast. He's deceptively fast. You know, and like I said once before, he makes the game look easy. They said Michael Vick number was number 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Know why he's number 8? It's just a different level, Michael Vick. And I think he done played his way to the MVP candidate race, if not the winner, in my opinion. His team is the number 1 ranked team in the NFL. He just dominated who was supposed to have been the number 1 ranked team in the NFL. He dominated them. You know, only thing is the fact that sometimes they lose to teams that they should not have lost to, like the Colts, Pittsburgh at the time. You know, so that's the only Achilles heel that I see them is the fact that sometimes he might let the game get away from him because I guess it becomes too easy. They're not challenged enough. But I think definitely they are the team that you're going to have to beat them to get to the Super Bowl. You know, but as we know in the past, at times when they have came out in a regular season strong and dominant, we like, oh man, it's Baltimore, right? That first round, man, they always get sidetracked. Tennessee did it one year. Indianapolis did it one year. You know, and this could be a year where Buffalo might do it this year. You know, or it could be a Kansas City. I don't see Kansas City because they just got too many holes. Too many holes this year. You know, it's way too many. You know, that wasn't a fluke what the Raiders did. It is what it is. We've been talking about it. It is what it is. But your opinions, man. What do you think about the MVP race? What do you think? And what do you think about Baltimore's performance over San Fran?
Well, Baltimore's performance over San Fran, that's one of the picks I got. Congratulations. I still finished under 500 again. But yeah, so when you and I in the middle of the season, we said halfway up to now, who was our MVP? We both were in agreement. We both said Lamar Jackson.
We did.
Last week, we were kind of leaning on Purdy.
Yeah.
A little bit, but it was fluid because maybe the week before we were kind of leaning on Dak.
Yeah.
But it was fluid. So now we're kind of leaning back on Lamar with 2 games to go. And I'm still okay with it. And he probably right now today is the leader in a clubhouse. But let me say this. When you think of that game, the Ravens and San Francisco, first things that come to mind when I think about it is, oh man, Purdy, four interceptions. He actually got benched, right? That had nothing to do with Lamar Jackson.
No.
The defense controlled that game, pretty much won that game. The defense this year for Baltimore are great.
They are
consistently great.
Yeah.
Lamar's been very good. He's had a couple of off games, but he's been very good. So he's there. So now when you think of MVP, A, it tends to go to a quarterback, and B, it tends to go to a quarterback because he's got those great stats, right? And he's usually on a team that's either first or second in their conference. Lamar, okay, he's a quarterback, and he's on a team that's first in the conference, but he doesn't really have the stats this year.
No,
not really. Not really jump out to what you would think would be like crazy MVP kind of stats. So I can see Lamar winning it, but I don't think it's a sure thing because I think it's one of those things where if you say Lamar wins it, it's because he's the quarterback on the number 1 team.
Yeah.
Last week, Brock Purdy was the quarterback on the number
1 team. Yeah.
Now, let's take this in a different direction. Even some people said Tua was in the MVP running because he's the quarterback on the number 2 team, right? But when you think of Miami, who's their best player?
Tyreek Hill.
The Cheetah.
Indeed.
Right? And he was going for 2,000 yards. Now, the last 2 weeks have thrown him off. He's probably not going to get it.
Right.
But he was the one legitimately that you were like, you know what? If he gets to 2,000 yards, he could win it. He could win it. on San Francisco, who's their best player?
Chris McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. He's getting a touchdown every single week.
Yeah.
So he should be the guy that you think of as an MVP, but he's not a quarterback. Purdy's the quarterback, so that's who people were thinking of. When in actuality, the best player is the running back. Now, it's not impossible for a running back to win it, but more often than not, they don't. I think the last time was Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, it was.
2010, 2011, something like that. So we're talking over a decade ago. And I think the time before that was it Sean Alexander?
Sean Alexander.
Might have been him. And then before that was Marshall Faulk.
Yep,
That's not a lot of guys. That's not a lot of guys in the last 25 years. That's 3 guys. Okay, so it usually goes to a quarterback. So my point is, I could see Lamar winning it. And as of today, I would say he's probably gonna win it. But my vote would go to McCaffrey because he's been the best player. He's on at least the best NFC team, if not the best team overall. He's on the best NFC team. He's the best player on the best NFC team, and he's got the numbers to back it up. He's not just a starting running back on the number 1 seed. Lamar is the starting quarterback on the number 1 seed. He doesn't really have the numbers. So I think the advantage for Lamar over McCaffrey is only because he's quarterback. If we're going by numbers, then I think it's McCaffrey. So indeed. I'm going with McCaffrey right now. In 2 weeks, I may change my mind. But right now, today, I'm going with McCaffrey. But I think the NFL, because they tend to like the quarterback, I think they're probably slightly leaning towards Action Jackson Lamar. Jackson.
Once again, that's if he's consistently, if they go out, because I don't know, the way that the NFL is looking right now, which is rare that this happens this late in the season, where you got every game that really matters, where you have so many teams on the AFC side that's just fighting for a playoff positioning. Like, it's a lot of teams that's fighting for playoff positioning. These next 2 weeks is going to be very decisive on who makes and who doesn't make the playoff, man. Because it's like 5 or 6 teams. Realistically, it's 8 teams on that side that could make the playoff, to be honest. That's in the hunt right now. Obviously, now 8 going to make it. I'm talking about in the hunt. And on the NFC side, it's a little bit more clear, but it's still some positioning that got to go on in the NFC side. So speaking of that, man, let's get to these picks, man. It's the first.
Let's do it.
First show we got almost an
hour. Let's do it.
You ready?
Listen, I want to apologize to the people because I have been under 500 the last 3 weeks.
I don't even want to mention my record.
Well, I'll just say this. In the first half of the year, I was making a lot of my picks based on the number, and I got away from that the last 3 weeks because I'm just going by, I think this team is better than this team, so they'll cover the number. Well, I'm not doing that this week. I am focusing on the number.
Indeed.
I'm not really, unless it's super obvious to me, I'm going to go more by the number, what the number tells me personally, versus the team that I think is just better and they'll find a way to cover. Cincinnati screwed me 2 weeks in a row.
Goodness.
Not going to do it to me again. Not going to do it to me. I won't let it happen again.
I was so mad, right? I was so mad because I told my confidant, my cousin, I said, Gil called that Jacksonville game to the T. I'm sorry that I did not listen to you. And you called your Bears, so I had to take your Bears. I took your Bears because you really called it and you was literally on point with that. At first, they were going to blow at the end because they did some flim-flam at the end, but they still covered, But that Jacksonville was so embarrassing. That was embarrassing, man. Like, that was embarrassing, man.
They're in trouble.
Buccaneers dominated them, man.
It was
the
trouble.
Healthiest game ever. I was so mad, Gil. Like, I'm sitting there, like, I'm looking at this ticket, and I'm like, I had the Jaguars. And Gil literally said they have been on a losing streak, and they need to show him something. So until they get figured out, they're broken right now. Their spirit's broken, and they ain't figured it out. And what happened? They look like a broken limp. It's sad, man. It's sad. How would you dominate that division? Now you literally might not even make the playoffs because y'all went on such a terrible slide, and I don't think you can right this ship at this point. I think the Texans gonna come out that thing as the winners, straight up. Between them and the Colts, I'm leaning pride towards Texans at this point. You know what I mean?
Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, he is in bad shape.
Terrible.
Now he hurt his shoulder.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna play.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna play this game. I think CJ Beathard's gonna play this game. So there you go.
That's not a winning formula. You want to be playing your best ball down the stretch heading into the playoffs. You don't want to be leaking oil, and now you're leaking antifreeze along with it.
Yeah, it's not looking good, bro.
Not good. All right,
let's go.
Let's make our picks. You and I are both gonna have a winning week this week. I can feel it. I can feel it. Let's get it. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. Thursday night, 8:15, Amazon Prime. The New York Jets, which I won that pick last week. I won that because Washington made that comeback at the second half, and Washington covered. Yay, Commanders. The New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. 7.5-point favorite at home. What say you?
It's a playoff clincher. Bryce Hall is back. They've been playing good ball. I don't trust Trevor Siemian in this position. So I'm actually going to go with Cleveland at home to clinch the playoff spot in dominating fashion. I like Flacco right now. He's playing good football. They put a record number with him, and Amari Cooper was just remarkable what they did.
How about Amari Cooper?
They got a quarterback that actually give him the ball. Like, for real. He's got zip on that ball, too. They're playing with confidence, man. Defense playing outstanding. Then you got to go to Cleveland and play them. And I'm not falling for the Trevor Siemian trick. They barely beat the Commanders. The Commanders are garbage.
After being spotted 17.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like, they told me who they are. So I'm not falling for that one. 7.5 ain't a big number to me. So I actually I'm going with Cleveland, man. I'm going with Cleveland for the number. I know the hooker is where you're going to go with that hooker. But I'm going with I know you're going to go with that hooker. Yup, the hooker.
On paper, you say Cleveland is better. Cleveland's at home.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. The Jets, offensively are bad and all this stuff. But I said I'm going by the number. And at 7.5, that means they got to win by 8. So I'm going to go with the Jets. They're getting 7.5. I say that they lose by less than a touchdown. Okay. They lose by less than 8. They can lose by 7. They can't lose by 8. So I'm going to go with the Jets. I'm playing the number.
Let's go.
No emotion, no analyzing, no saying this team is better. I'm looking at the number, and I'm just going to go by that because I haven't done that the last few weeks, and it bit me on the tushy. Saturday, there's one game. Detroit Lions, who have not won their division in 30 years. Congratulations, Detroit. On the road against your Dallas Cowboys, coming off of a loss. Dallas is favored by 6 at home.
Give me my boys for the number.
So you think Dallas will win and cover the number? They win by
I do, because I think that at this point, Detroit is, one, we're undefeated at home. We haven't lost at home. We play better at home for some odd reason. 2, Detroit clinched their division. So that might be their big moment. So they might not really come to play in a dominant fashion because of the fact that they clinched the division. You feel me? Now, they could play for a number 1 seed, but I really think they just, they never really did this. So it could be momentum, but I really think it's going to be a letdown game for them because they already had their big moment when they clinched their division. So I think that, and then the way we lost to Miami is sour taste in our mouth because we could have won that game and it came down to a field goal loss. And now we really need to come home and really just put on a performance. Well, will it be a close first half? I believe it's going to be a first close half. I think we'll run away in the second half. So give me my boys for the 6.
So again, I think Dallas wins this game. They are very good at home, much better at home than they are on the road. But I don't think Dan Campbell is going to take his foot off the gas. He's not that kind of guy. They might not have it. They might come in flat. But I don't think mentality-wise it's going to be like, okay, guys, we can relax. We clinched the division. I don't think he's going to do that. I think they're still going to come to play. There's an extra bit of excitement playing the Dallas Cowboys. There's a little extra electricity. It's like when a team goes to Yankee Stadium. You know what I mean? Like they know, hey man, this is the Cowboys. This is the Yankees. If you're looking at them, they're looking at us. So Detroit doesn't want to win the division and then come up flat because they have an outside chance of getting that number 1 seed. So I think they at least come to the game prepared. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I don't think they lose by 6.
Okay.
So
we got 2 disagreements.
The number, I'm taking Dallas for the win, but Detroit with the number, I think Detroit loses by less than 6. So by the way, I'm not marking this down. So we have already disagreed on the first 2 games. Okay, let's go to Sunday. Miami at Baltimore. Ooh, two top teams in the AFC right now. CBS, 1 o'clock. Baltimore is a 3.5 point favorite at home.
I like Miami. I'm leaning towards Miami in that game.
I'm in agreement because of the number, 3.5. I think Baltimore can win, but I think they win by a goal or less.
I think Miami's going to
got to show that they could beat a good team on the road. I'm not saying that they
will. But you know what? In the past, Miami has beaten Baltimore. All teams they seem to happen to beat is Baltimore. In Baltimore. We know that game when Tyreek went off for 200-plus yards, they were losing. They came back and beat them. So they can beat Baltimore. Baltimore just had a big game against San Fran. And I think they might be that type of where it's and then it's the AFC. It's a challenge in the AFC. They played the AFC different than they played the NFC. So I think that this is a time where Miami could probably catch them because they're still competing for their division. They got to compete. They got to win out because if not, Buffalo going to win that division. So they definitely got to come play.
I see this being a low-scoring game.
Yeah,
I think
I do too.
Are really going to put on both sides. What I don't like about Miami is Waddle got hurt in the last game. So I don't know if he's game time decision or what.
That's a huge factor.
And Cheetah is still not looking 100%. So, you had the 2 speedy wide receivers. One might not play, and the other one might not be as speedy as he was. He's the engine that makes them go. Now, they got a pretty good running game, but Baltimore's got a pretty good run defense.
They do.
So everything seems to favor Baltimore for me, but I'm not falling for the hooker. I'm not. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But a 3.5 tells me play the other side. So I'm in agreement with you. I'm going with Miami, even though on paper it doesn't look too great for them right now. Okay, New England at Buffalo. Buffalo has really had New England's number the last few years.
Yeah.
But New England coming off of a win. Got to give them credit for that. I did not write down the number for this game.
It was 12.
What's the number?
I think it's 12.
12? Buffalo's favored by 12?
Yes.
Okay, well, if that's the case, and I'm going to take you for your word, I'm going with New England. Because although I think Buffalo's going to win, I think New England's playing a little better. And Buffalo, last week, they won, but they didn't win by a lot.
No.
I could see New England getting a backdoor cover late in the fourth quarter. Surprisingly, Buffalo, although their offense has been a little more consistent because they're running the ball more, they're not going to Diggs too much. They're going out of their way for their number 1 receiver. So I'm going to take New England because of the number, but I think Buffalo will win outright. Buffalo might even win by 10. Double figures, like, wow. why not take Buffalo altogether? Because I'm not. Because they win some games that they barely win, that you go into it, there's a big spread. How many times this year with Buffalo there was a big spread and they either won or lost, but they did not cover that number a bunch of times.
This is a revenge game because Patriots beat them in Foxborough. So on that level, Buffalo could come out and dominate, right? They could come out and dominate. But I'm in agreement with you, unfortunately. I'm in agreement with you, man. I just think that, once again, when you get Buffalo these big numbers, man, sometimes they underperform. You know what I'm saying? And New England has been playing good. Of lately, they've been playing better, I think last time they went out Buffalo, they got destroyed, though. They definitely got destroyed. Run game, boom. Diggs ain't get the ball. The running game, the run back get going. Josh Allen, they score. Zappy moving the ball. I'm just looking at the options. They played Denver. Denver sucks. Now I'm switching my pick, man. I actually like Buffalo.
You like Buffalo? You like Buffalo?
Yeah, we got disagreement again. I'm gonna take the 12.
Okay, it's fine with me. Again, you look at it, you're like, oh, Buffalo's way better. Of course, they'll cover whatever number. You got to pay attention. Lots of times they didn't cover, and I'm not getting caught with that. I'm not getting caught with that. If I lose, I lose, but I'm not getting caught with that. What I'm not going to do is make the same mistake I've been making the last 3 weeks.
You're right.
If I lose, I lose, but at least I went a different route this time. Okay, we got Atlanta at Chicago. Like I said before, this is an audition for Justin Fields for two teams to see if either one of them is interested in either keeping him or going out there and getting him. Because right now Atlanta is picking in the top 10 too.
Yeah.
Draft. So they got a chance to still win their division, and they got a chance to have a top 10 pick, which is kind of crazy, but it is what it is. Chicago is favored at home by 3. I'm telling you right now, I'm going with Chicago. I like the number. This is late December now, playing a dome team. And I do think that Heineke is better than Ritter, but he's still a backup quarterback. And backup quarterbacks poop all over themselves, the occasional game. They might be doing pretty good as a backup and getting all this hype. And then reality sets in. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's why you're a backup. So I'm just going to go with the fact that I think Fields is feeling it, as far as he knows he's auditioning himself. And I think because of the weather, Chicago being at home, playing a dome team, I like the number 3. I think Chicago wins and covers.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you with that one, man. I'm in agreement. I told my cousin this too. I was like, I just don't trust Atlanta because they're not really a good road team. And then once again, you got to go to Chicago in the winter. It's going to be cold up that joint. And they're a dome team. And I don't think and like you said, Heineken, plays better than Ritter, but it's not like he's going to wow you. You know what I mean? And this is a Justin Fields audition. So if this is a game that they need to win, it'd be this one. Hopefully the offensive coordinator could call a good game plan, against his team. That's the big question to me, because if Atlanta gets to running the ball, I think they got a good chance. And then behind it, getting utilizing the weapons around them, they might have a real good. And then they're playing for that spot. They're playing for the division. So it's gonna be a very interesting game, man. I won't be surprised if Atlanta. I got Chicago to win, but I actually like Atlanta for the number. You know what I mean? I think they'll be more competitive.
So who are you picking? You're picking Atlanta?
For the number.
You got to stop saying I agree with you. And then
I agree with you, Falls.
I'm writing in ink. I got no eraser.
Look, I agree with you with your concept, but I just feel like once I think it out, I just think that, especially getting 3, I think that Atlanta man might actually come to play.
If Atlanta gives the ball to Bijan Robinson 25 times between handing it off to him or throwing to him, they got a really good shot of winning. But if they're just going to make him be a gadget player like they do more often than not, then I like the Bears' chances. Tennessee at Houston. Houston is a 5-point home favorite. I don't know if Stroud is playing or not. I'm just going by the number without knowing if he's playing. Tennessee, even when they lose, they put up a good fight. Houston has kind of been leaking a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think they've lost 2 out of the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Tennessee
Amazing.
because number, I think Houston is going to win, but I could see Houston. They have a lot of these cardiac wins where it's a field goal to win it or it's a touchdown at the end to go up by a point. I think I could see Houston winning, especially if they got Stroud. But I'm going to take Tennessee with the number. That number 5 is tricky. It's not too high. It's not
Yeah,
too
me
low.
too.
It's right there. 4 or 5, you got to make a decision. I'm gonna stick with Tennessee because I think I think 2 things. Their head coach is tough, and whatever the record is, he gets them to play. And I also think they're auditioning Derrick Henry because I don't think he's on the team next year. So I think they're going to want to finish strong with him and do him a solid. And I think this is going to be a give the ball to Derrick Henry kind of game because it looks like Levis is not going to play.
Nah, Tannehill.
So they're going to go with Tannehill. So I'm going to go with a low scoring Tennessee covering the number. Look for King Henry to have a big game. I think Houston pulls it out at the end, but they don't cover the 5. I got Tennessee.
I got Tennessee too. I'm in agreement with you.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. It's a revenge game. They should have beat them the first time. They don't come back in overtime. So I actually like Tennessee to go in there and win the game. I like Tennessee. We're in agreement.
All right, we're in agreement. Las Vegas coming off of, I believe, their best win of the year.
Yeah.
Even better than scoring 60-something points against the Chargers and getting the Chargers head coach fired. That was an accomplishment. But then beating Kansas City in Kansas City 20-14, that's pretty dope. I hope Antonio Pierce gets the head coach job for next year. I got a feeling he won't because when you got ownership that falls over their own feet when they're walking, they'll hire the wrong guy in the offseason. But I hope it's Antonio Pierce. With that being said, Las Vegas Raiders on CBS against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts at home are a 3.5-point favorite. So where do you think I'm going?
I like the Raiders.
I like the Raiders too because of the number.
Yep, I like the Raiders.
I can see the Raiders outright winning.
I can too. So that's going to make that playoff. That's going to make that division even more interesting.
Because it looks like nobody wants to win it.
Nobody wants to win it. So now if you got
Houston,
so if our prediction go right and say the Tennessee do win, now you got Houston at 8-8. You're going to have Indianapolis at 8-8, and then we talk about Jacksonville. When we get to that game, we'll probably be 8-8. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna come down to that last week on who's gonna win that division.
That's what we wanted, right? That's what we wanted. You want more games that matter.
We talked about this beginning of our preview. We said that the 2 trash divisions were who? The South. We said the South. We said they're both trash. We said that the South or Atlanta and Louisiana and whoever won that was trash, right? Mm-hmm. And we agreed that the Coast division was going to be trash. And it's going to come down to the last week who's going to win the 2 trash divisions.
We need the people to go back and listen to our podcast.
They need to go back and really listen to what we be talking about, man.
That's what we said. That's what I'm trying to talk about. All right, so we're in agreement there. Okay, here's a doozy for you. The Carolina Panthers at Jacksonville.
Oh, my goodness.
Jacksonville is a 6.5-point favorite. Now, I'm just going to say this. I'm not telling you who to pick, okay? Obviously. But Jacksonville is coming off of 4 straight losses, and their quarterback is beat up, probably not going to play this week, right? I don't think they should be 6.5-point favorite to anybody, which includes Carolina.
Indeed.
Okay, not playing. Carolina the last couple of weeks they've shown a little life.
Yeah,
They've shown a little.
yeah.
So I'm picking Carolina not to win, but to cover the number.
I agree.
Jacksonville will not win by 7. They will win by 6 or less, or lose.
Listen,
or lose.
I'm not even confident in winning the game. The way they're looking right now, man, they need Carolina to come through to get it right. They really do. That being said, I still like Carolina for the points.
We are in agreement. And I just want to say that this has nothing to do with what we're doing, but I'm drinking delicious iced tea that my wife made. She put real lemon in here, and it gets better and better with every sip as closer to the bottom.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love you, Mary.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's delicious. Anyway, moving on from that. Oh, here's a team that did not benefit from San Francisco losing last week. The Los Angeles Rams at the New York Giants.
Yes.
The Giants are a 5.5-point underdog at home. Now, let me just say this. Normally, because of that number and the trend that I'm going, I would pick the Giants. However, the Rams are playing good ball, and they have to try and win out and get help because now they're screwed. See, San Francisco could have took that last game off. Now they can't.
Yeah.
Because they want to get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Detroit's right there and Philly's right there. So they got to win out. And if they win out, that screws the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams can play well and still not make the playoffs.
That's a fact.
So I'm picking the Rams to win and cover the number. They're going to win by at least 6. I got them on the road. Plus the Giants aren't very good. No. And even though they went back to Tyrod Taylor, here you can mark this down. Before the game is over, let me write it down.
We're not in the game.
Tommy Cutlets will finish the game.
I promise.
Period. Because Tyrod Taylor can't go more than 2 quarters without getting hurt.
That's a fact.
He gets hurt every single game that he plays. Every single one. And he's going to start this game, and before the 4th quarter is over, he's going to be hurt or he's going to play terrible and get benched. And they're going to, and especially since they're in New Jersey, where all his Goombas are going to be, I think Tommy Cutlets is going to be in this game before it's over. With that being said, I think the Rams win and they cover. They win by at least 6.
I agree.
Well, we're in agreement there.
I agree.
All right. This was a toughie. I did not make a pick on this one. I want to hear what you got to say. Arizona at Philadelphia. Oh, that's an easy pick, right? Philadelphia, who has not been playing well the last month, at home is a 10.5-point favorite. Okay, let's simplify it. They got to win by 11 to cover. That's a high and an odd number.
You know what I like, man? I actually like Arizona because I think it's going to be a backdoor cover. Philly probably be up and find a way. Kyler Murray and I'm going to find a way to backdoor cover and blow that ticket. So give me Arizona, man.
Usually when I don't pick, I listen to what you do and I do the opposite just to be different. And I'm going to go that way too because you got a West Coast team in Arizona coming to the cold, frigid Philadelphia with the Philadelphia fans who are even colder than the weather. I don't like the number, and if I had money, I would stay away from this game. However, just to make a pick, if Philadelphia wants to somehow try and still get that number 1 seed, they got to win this game, and they got to look pretty good doing it. Arizona is not a good team. I think Philly wins. I think they cover. It's an odd one. I would not, if I was a betting man, I would not put money on this. But just as a pick, I'm going to say Philadelphia wins and covers. So we are in disagreement with that. I like it. A lot of disagreements this week. Okay, New Orleans at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay right now is leading their division. And Tampa Bay at home is a 2.5-point favorite. I'm going to tell you, I like the number. I think Tampa Bay has been a little more consistent as of late than New Orleans. New Orleans on the road. I'm going with Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay could win by 3 or more at home.
They've been playing good football. That number is crazy to me. They're playing real good football. It's just the number, man. 2.5, man. 2.5 is throwing me real quick. I know it's the same number.
It's a little low.
Jacksonville.
It's a little low for a
it's
home.
Definitely team. Low, man. It's definitely low. And I just think that I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna go with the Saints. You know, my better half telling me go with the Buccaneers because they are playing better football. You know, but I think that just give me the Saints. I don't like the number. Give me the Saints.
I understand why you made that pick, but New Orleans has been inconsistent.
Yeah.
When you're ready to be like, okay, they've won the last week or two. They're looking pretty good. And then they throw a stinker in there for no reason. So I'm going to go with the team that's been more consistent as of late and is in first place in their division. It's a divisional game. I got Tampa Bay. All right. This one, San Francisco, coming off of a horrific loss, tries to redeem themselves on the road against Washington. Washington is a home 13-point underdog.
Give me San Fran.
13.
I don't give that. I don't give us 20. Give me San Fran, man. Washington is trash. Give me San Fran. Bounce back game. You needed to go down there and dominate this bum team. They're bums, man. I can't rock with them. I like the number.
Now, are you aware that they made a quarterback change? They took out. They took out what's his name, Powell.
Oh, they took out Howell and put
and they put in Brissett.
Oh, the Kobe Brissett makes a huge difference, though. I'm sorry. I don't care. Give me San Fran.
Ooh, we are in agreement. I think San Francisco got embarrassed, and they're going to get fat by eating up Washington.
Washington ain't got no defense. They got no defense.
And they throw the ball too much. They
too
throw
much.
Too much.
Way too much.
Against
man.
all those pass rushers that San Francisco's got, you're playing right into their hands.
Word you are.
I think San Francisco's going to win by 3 touchdowns.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be an ugly game.
I think they're going to win by at least 21.
It's going to be an ugly game. I wouldn't be comfortable taking the Commanders with 13. I wouldn't be comfortable taking them on the teaser getting 20. I promise you I won't. I did last time, and I got spanked for it. Jokers got beat by 30, man.
Okay, this next one I was a little bit with Pittsburgh at Seattle. Seattle is a 3.5-point favorite. The 3.5 makes me nervous. This is a game, if I was a betting man, I would stay away from. But just to make the pick,
I'm going to make a pick. I'm just going with. I'm going to get Seattle at home just for the pick.
So am I. So am I. Pittsburgh has been too up and down. And if you want to look at home, but on the road,
I ain't falling for that with Mason Rudolph. I'm not falling for that crap.
Yeah, I'm not either. Mason Rudolph's not good. There's a reason why he's the third.
He's definitely not good. So I don't want you to think that. Nah.
I could see him throwing 3 picks.
I can too.
In this game.
And the offense not clicking. And in Seattle, I gotta go with the starting quarterback over the backup, the third string backup at that.
The only thing that worries me is that 3.5. It does worry me. I'm going with Seattle. But that number makes me nervous. As a bettor, I would stay away from this game. Okay, 425 CBS. You're not going to get me again, you bunch of SOBs. The Cincinnati Bengals, who I've lost with the last 2 weeks, against the Kansas City Chiefs in KC. KC is a 7-point home.
Kansas City.
I am also with Kansas City. I am not going with Cincinnati. Not. You're not going to get me again 2 weeks. I don't like how Kansas City has played this year, but I think they win this game. And I think they make that 7. They may only win like 17-10, but I think they're going to win it. Cincinnati, you make me mad. Make me mad. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers against the Denver Broncos. I think I might surprise you with this one. Denver had been playing pretty well up until the last couple of weeks, and officially today, Denver has benched Russell Wilson. Benched him. He is a healthy bench. So, even though Denver is at home, the number is 3.5. I don't like that number because of the hook.
I like the Chargers.
I like the Chargers too. I'm not saying
Stick showed me a little bit more.
But I like the number.
Your stick showed me something.
I'm gonna take the Chargers with the number. I think Denver wins, but I could see them winning by 1 or 2. I don't think they're going to win by 4, and that's what it would take to cover this number. So we are in agreement with that. It has been quite a while since I picked the Chargers to win a game.
Yeah.
Quite a while indeed. And the last game of the week, there's no Monday nighter this week. Green Bay at Minnesota, 8:20, NBC. Minnesota is only a 2-point home favorite against Green Bay. Now, before you make your pick, I heard this from Ian Rappaport today.
Okay.
That Green Bay has suspended their top corner, Alexander.
Yeah.
For something pretty ridiculous. Their top corner will not play this game. And as you have seen, Justin Jefferson is back.
Yeah.
And he made an incredible catch last week.
He did.
And without Green Bay having their top corner out there to follow arguably the best wide receiver in the game, arguably, and Minnesota still trying to get that final wild card game, even though I don't like the number, I'm going to pick Minnesota to win and cover the 2 over the Green Bay Packers.
I agree. I was already leaning that way because I think Minnesota defensively has been playing good defense. And then you talking about down at the corner, your top corner is not there to shadow their top receiver. You asking for a loss. It's not like Jordan Love. I don't see Jordan Love dominate them. You know what I mean? So they barely beat Carolina. You talking about going to Minnesota, who has a chance of making the playoffs? Minnesota, man.
Minnesota's got good defense.
Yeah, they do. They got real good defense. So I think they'll dial it up. I think they'll run it good. It's going to be it's a North battle. You know how they go. Y'all go to the North.
Yeah.
So it's a North battle. It's traditional. Give me Minnesota, man, at home.
We are in agreement there. Now, let me tell you why Alexander got suspended.
What?
You ready for this? It's supposed to show how clueless and how selfish some players can be.
What happened?
This is a first. If I gave you 100 guesses, you wouldn't guess. Because I wouldn't have guessed if you would have gave me 100. You ready for this?
Okay.
Last week, he went out in the for the opening game coin toss, right?
Okay.
He was not named a captain and went out there on his own. And I forgot which he picked, but he went against what the team wanted. So if they won it, I don't know exactly what happened. But let's say, for example, if you win the toss, you might want to defer. Well, if they won it, he chose on himself to receive, or vice versa. Or vice versa. He decided to defer it when they actually wanted to receive. So either way, he went out there when he wasn't a captain. He took it upon himself, and he told the referee what he wanted, which apparently is not what Lafleur wanted. So he did 2 wrong things at the start of the game, and they have suspended him. The team has suspended him 1 game because of that. Now, have you ever, not only I'm sure you're going to say, I've never heard of that. Can you even imagine that? And then they asked him after the game, And he said, it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go out there. I didn't realize that I had to be a captain, and I didn't realize I had to check with everybody on what we had to do. That's why the people who get picked out there because they know what the coach wants them to do. They don't take it upon themselves to choose.
Nah, May was totally in the wrong, and they should hold him accountable. So he made that decision to do something on his own, and this is the consequences. For all the kids out there, man, coaches coach, players play, and you need to listen to your coach and stop thinking that I don't care how hot the media, you're the top 10 player in the league, who cares? It's a team game, and you need to listen to the captain, who's the head of the coach is head of the team. You don't take upon yourself to go out there with your little ego and say, I'm gonna do this and go totally against what the team. So basically you force the team's hand to do what they had to do. Because you can't let a person get away with that, and not be held accountable. It sends a terrible message to the rest of the team. So, they did what they had to do.
100%. I give Green Bay and Coach LaFleur all the credit to have the guts to know that this is kind of a big game for them too. Want to finish strong. Outside chance you be that last wild card if everything broke right for them. Probably wouldn't get it anyway. But to know that they're going up on the road against Justin Jefferson and benching their top corner, I give them a lot of props for that. And I don't like to give Green Bay props for anything. So, in counting, the interesting thing between you and I are the disagreements. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 disagreements. We were on a roll that we were going to have more than that, but the last 5 we were in agreement with. So we still got more agreements than disagreements. It worked out that way, but still 6 disagreements. So next week's show is going to be interesting. As you said, we're winding down. This is the playoff push. Indeed. All these games really matter now. Teams are going to need to win and get help, do some scoreboard watching. So anything you want to add before we end the show?
Nah, man, I think we covered everything we was going to cover, man. And I can't wait for this weekend of football. And it's going to be much more clear. I still think it's going to come down to that final week when we finally find out who's going to make the 7th, and the seed is all going to come down to that final week. Not going to be this week here. It's going to be the final week when we finally get the clear picture. And then we can look forward to our playoff special. Indeed. You're ready for that, my brother.
The year strong.
Yes, sir.
Wait. And you think your Cowboys are going to win, and I think my Bears are going to win. So it could be a great weekend for us.
Right.
I want to thank all the listeners, all the people who have tuned in and supported the show. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, hopefully we have another show next week at 9:00. Hope to see you all there. Please comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. For my main man, Larry Loper, I'm Gil Irizarry. Thanks for tuning in to What's Good with Gil and Larry. We'll catch you next week. Deuces, y'all.
Happy New Year.
My man.
100 grand.